So welcome back to Boys on Film. Today we're reviewing a drama movie directed by Bill Oliver. It is starring Billy Porter and Luke Evans. It is called Our Son. Look who's here, my boys on film. Raj is here, and we've got Sean as well. So, Our Son.
I could just say it's the gay Kramer versus Kramer, and then we just end the review.
Clutch your cymbals, perfectly summed up. It is though, isn't it?
But I won't do that, Phil. I won't do that. I'll be it's needed. So it follows the story of Nicky and Gabriel. Nicky played by Luke Evans, Welsh stunner Luke Evans, and Gabriel played by Billy Porter. And it follows the story of their life. They are a gay married couple with an 8-year-old son called Owen, played by Christopher Woodley. And really, what happens when there's a breakdown in any marriage, gay, straight, or... This is a breakdown in marriage between me and Tipsy.
She likes to upstage you, doesn't she, Tipsy?
She's doing a really good job. She's really good at it. That's her mom. That's my face. So really what happens in the breakdown of their relationship and the impact on Owen through that. So a premise we've seen before through the lens of a very heteronormative lens, played through in a very queer way by Luke Evans and Billy Porter.
So this is Luke Evans' first major queer role, right? I don't think he's played a gay character, has he, before?
Vampire? Didn't he play Dracula? He was quite gay.
Did he?
He played Dracula at one point, yeah. You know, Dracula's a bit like...
It's a bit loose, isn't it?
Loose, pan, into everything, you know.
Are there any positives in Our Son?
Great cast. I really enjoyed, seeing Felicia Rashad there at the end, too. That was quite a surprise.
She looks amazing as well. She's like in her 70s now. She looks so good.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I enjoyed about the supporting cast was their different viewpoints on the grandchildren. You know, it was Nicky's parents were all like, no, that's your son. That's your son. And then Felicia Rashad was like, oh, well, are you sure you can do this? You know, you don't have to follow in the footsteps of your father. I kind of like that. I mean, it kind of felt like the main storyline was, you know, typical men and their egos trying to control everything. Yeah. But then getting the viewpoint of, you know, their immediate family and what's more important in terms of raising a child. Like, I just thought that was nice.
And I guess Billy Porter's character, Gabriel, was kind of suggesting that Nicky, Luke Evans, wasn't really pulling his weight when it came to the child, because he was obviously a book publisher, but very caught up in that whole career thing, and Gabriel was kind of the parent, really, that was always there.
Nicky wasn't much of a father, you know, probably a very atypical father, if you ask me. I think a lot of gay men have fathers like that who are just, you know, not really there. They're there physically and somewhat emotionally, but, you know, they're more invested in providing for the family than, you know, all the gushy stuff that moms usually take care of.
So Gabriel's the former actor. In some ways, I kind of thought maybe Billy Porter was playing himself to a certain extent. No?
Well, you know, like whenever Billy Porter is in anything, I think he's playing himself. For me, I don't know, his character and his persona, and this is not a negative dig towards him or anything. It's just, I always just think of him as Billy Porter. You know, no, it doesn't matter what role he plays because he's such a he has a distinctive look, he has this distinctive manner. You know, maybe he's typecast as himself really in just about anything he does.
Roger, I agree with you. I think what you get from the supporting cast is perspective, right? Because they're going through this massive breakup, which is hard at the best of times. A divorce is hard at the best of times, and then you layer in children. And so it's highly emotional, highly emotive. And so, you know, I think you're right. The family provide a voice, a kind of still voice, a sobering voice around what's going on, as does Matthew, played by Andrew Rannells, and I'm a big fan of Andrew Rannells. I think he's great. Again, a sobering voice and a kind of pragmatic, sensible voice in something that's highly emotive. So I buy that, Raj. I think that supporting cast really did come through.
The little close-knit gay group of friends that they all shared, like, even they were like very honest. They're like, do you really want to be a father 50% of the time? It's a lot of hard work, and you know, you would have more time if you had split custody and all that stuff. So even they were quite honest as the supporting cast, which I really liked. And you know, it wasn't necessarily the actual breakdown of the relationship. I find that whole thing kind of boring. because it's very typical, I think, in a lot of these type of situations.
Yeah.
But actually just hearing everyone else's perspective around it was quite different. So, yeah.
And also the perspective of what, we these are these great things that we can hold two thoughts in our head. Yes, Billy Porter is a very loving, caring father that's with Owen 24/7. But there is a perspective from Nicky saying, but I put the roof over everyone's head. I'm out working for this family. I'm doing my bit. It's just translated in a different way. And I think naturally you lean into the emotional side of things. But the reality is he's saying, I also provide for this family and I also give to this family, but it's processed in a very different way. And I think that comes through in the storyline,
What Andrew Reynolds said, it doesn't benefit anyone for the character to be destitute. And everyone kind of agreed, like when he was trying to stop him from getting a job. I was like, yeah, he's right. Like, does the kid no good to not have another parent who's poor and can't work, that sort of thing. So again, that's kind of what stuck with me afterwards.
My friend actually works at Housing Works in New York, so I was going to call her and say, what's it like working with Andrew Reynolds and Billy Porter, who are now apparently your colleagues?
Well, you mentioned, Sean, I mean, we kind of brushed it off in a comedic way about Kramer versus Kramer, the gay version of that. And I think it's quite an interesting point because up until now, we haven't really had that representation. So it's good that this film does exist, that it's telling that story, because obviously, it needs to be told from that perspective, but predominantly most of it is the tough part, isn't it? So I guess when you've got a child involved, it does make it a little bit more depressing in a way.
I mean, I've got two observations. One, everyone should watch Kramer versus Kramer because it's the classic, 1979, Dustin Hoffman, Meryl Streep. Dustin Hoffman plays, an advertising executive, overworked, very similar to the Nicky character in Our Son. So I think it's an interesting one to compare to because it immediately jumps off the page that it's very similar.
Yeah.
And then the second thing I had was about their relationship, so Nicky and Gabriel, which feels very distant, but then in my mind I was thinking, well, it would be because they're at the end of their relationship. It feels cold and it feels kind of unconnected.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was making me think, is that because they're a bad pairing, or is actually that because that's where they're at in the cycle of their relationship, where it is terse and hard and cold, and communication is now kind of monosyllabic. I think that's where they're at as the couple. And in the middle of it is Owen, who's this 8-year-old kid who's just like, what the hell's going on? Because the framework of my family is about to fall apart.
I think there's a big missed opportunity with showing like Owen's perspective a bit more, because he was kind of just a side character, but a main point of focus. Like there really could have been a few more scenes of him actually asking the questions and what was his real opinion on who he wants to live with. And, those conversations, the fact that this focused so much on the broken relationship, I think was a bit overkill. We could have used some more of that supporting cast.
Yeah, I agree, because at the beginning we didn't have so much of the rosy stuff of the relationship, but I guess that's because the relationship had gone past that mark. It had kind of fractured, hasn't it? So I guess unless you're going to go back in time, we didn't see the rosy stuff to kind of have that contrast. I mean, one of the main problems for me was that I didn't feel that emotional pull. I didn't feel sad and upset at what was happening. I kind of felt empathetic towards the child. I didn't feel upset really by what was going on, and I think that's because I didn't really know enough about them, about the characters.
I think it did a good job of like actually showing what a bad relationship is in the end cycle. I mean, I felt like many times throughout the film, as someone who's been through a few bad relationships and marriages like that, it's like, oh yeah, had that argument. Oh yeah, I've done that. But maybe this film might be, not as important to like people of our age, but maybe younger people be like, oh, this is how a relationship can break down. This is what you can expect. So although maybe the three of us weren't getting a lot of anything new out of this film, maybe it could be more important for, the younger gay audiences who have never been in a marriage and know what the day-to-day of a marriage might be like, because it isn't all roses and cinnamon rolls and breakfast in bed, you know.
Of course it is, Rog. It's all cinnamon rolls and breakfast in bed. Yeah, I agree with you. I think maybe it's an age thing. I think this might be more relevant and urgent to a different audience. One thing I thought was interesting was, I guess if you look at the Venn diagram between a heteronormative straight couple and a gay couple breaking up, actually, it's not that different. And so I think that is quite interesting, which is there isn't anything special about being a gay couple that breaks up and has a divorce than a straight couple breaking up and having a divorce. So I think that is important in a way, because there isn't no magic sauce that we have that makes it different. So I think that was quite interesting, quite telling to come through. I do think at an hour and 44 minutes, they could have got that emotional pull that you wanted, Phil. And I am going to say it could have been 20 minutes shorter.
Yeah.
You've got quite a lot of road with an hour and 44 minutes to be able to pull in that kind of emotional draw that you're looking for.
I wanted that. I needed that really badly, because it's that kind of film, isn't it? You need to feel...
There were no tears shed during this film.
Because they're a great cast. They're good actors. They can do that drama thing. I mean, Billy Porter really goes for it at one point. There's one scene where they're having an argument, and Luke Evans, his facial expressions, he looked worn out. He looked emotionally, done by the whole thing. So, it was there, but there was something that was holding me back. And I felt really frustrated by that. I don't know what that was. Was it the writing? Maybe the script wasn't... I wasn't feeling the lines.
There really wasn't much shift of tone at all throughout. It was pretty monotone for me.
Yeah. One note. There was no contrast, really.
Yeah.
Should have been that light and dark.
Can I just call out that wonky scene in that club where he gets some eye makeup?
It's like two kind of steamy scenes, one with Billy Porter in the beginning and one with Luke Evans at the end. And like the Luke Evans scene got way more screen time.
Yeah,
that is very true, Raj.
I was like, you could have gave Billy Porter some more, screen time on his steamy scene. But I don't know, I thought it was unbalanced.
I just found that a bit like, come on, Grandad, let's get you to bed. Like, it was all a bit like, ooh, let's put some eye makeup on. I'm going to paint my nails black and I'm going to be queer.
That one line, which stuck with me. He's like, oh, I haven't done this since, a few years ago with my ex. And he's like, oh, it's all the same. Nothing's changed. A couple of penises. I thought that was funny. It's a 3 for me. I just needed a little bit more in the story. No disregard for the acting. The acting was incredible, but the story and the tone, I just needed a little bit something more. So,
Sean?
The 3, begrudgingly.
I'm with you both. A 3 for me as well, although it was very nearly a 2. But it's a 3.
It's very nearly a 2 for me, to be honest. Why are we all being so nice? I know it's Christmas, but like...
I think if it was marks out of 10, it would be a 5. Is that a 3? I don't know. It's very kind of in the middle. In the middle.
Low 3. I'm in the low 3 bucket. I'd have given it 5 out of 10.
Yeah. But I guess that is a
3. Well done, it's a 3.
It's out on VOD from the 15th of December. Let us know if you've seen it, if you are seeing it.
Maybe we're just 3 bitter old queens, but
I think, you could put me in that bracket. I know someone's probably going to at me. Yes, I'm a cynical old bag.
The younger gays will really get something out of it, and
I'm
be
sure.
like, oh wow. Who knows?
I actually think the younger gays might not, because that they're not keen on sex scenes in films. There's a lot of debate about younger people not enjoying sex scenes in films. So I don't know about that.
Were they really sex scenes in this, though?
There were steamy scenes.
The intimacy, Phil.
It was a bit of foreplay, really, wasn't it?
It wasn't Le Beau Mec. Let's put it that way.
It certainly wasn't Le Beau Mec.
It certainly wasn't like fellow travelers,
True facts.
So.
Maybe they should do a sequel and have more sex. Just all sex.
I don't think the world needs a sequel to this.
Do we get a view from Tipsy? A star rating?
I think if I invoke Liza Minnelli, you might know.
Nothing.
According to the Watchtowers of the East.
Non-plus Tipsy.
No,
that's Hale's not swishing today.
Tipsy has voted with a silence.
Le Beau Mec, talking of that film, check out the review on the screen now.
Art house cinema at its best, which involves a lot of naked people. It's arty.
Thank you guys. See you next time. Thanks for watching, everyone.